signaling certain things. Interest rates fell dramatically, and that usually happens when there's a concern that maybe the economy is going to slow down. And the stocks that are moving up, I mean, we have Procter, which just a few days ago I was lamenting. Abbott last week traded at 99, and these stocks coming back. What that says to me, Jeff, is the actual prices of stocks are almost irrelevant versus the 10-year Treasury.
Yeah, over the last couple of weeks, the market's been defined by this rotation out of the mega cap tech stocks into small caps that do better as interest rates go down, maybe some improvement in the economy. But today, the last 2 days, really, it's very different. It's defense, it's Proctors, the staples, utilities.
And by the way, they're buying defense, even if it didn't do well. PepsiCo did not have a good quarter. I reference Abbott Labs because they lost a huge lawsuit.
I mean, we said the Procter quarter was just so-so.
Right.
It was so-so. The organic
Would
growth
you sell
was slow.
Procter here if we weren't restricted?
Look, that's a good question. On one hand, it's good to have the Proctors in the portfolio.
On days like today, I mean, you're selling.
And that's why you're
selling
diversified.
a winner. You're selling a winner if you get rid of that. I mean, we should be selling Estee Lauder. Be selling.
But look, we've made a lot of sales. We have a lot of cash.
Oh man, we sold a huge amount.
Yeah, the cash certainly helps on a day like today. It also allows us to be a little bit more opportunistic, look a little bit longer term into what's happening today, the last couple of days.
Well, I've got to tell you, if you're longer term, you don't sell Wells Fargo here. You buy it because that's a restructuring story. People are worried about bad debt. And I think there's an out of Morgan Stanley downgraded. We're going to have a very good fall in terms of deals. And we have a potential election where it could be radical in terms of what could happen with mergers. I don't want to sell either Morgan Stanley or Wells Fargo right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Wells, we've sold a lot higher, 59.
We sold some. I'm ready to buy that back right here, Jeff.
Yeah. One stock we did buy today was Broadcom. Obviously, the stock's been hit. If you look on a split adjusted price, we did trim some at 181, and so now it's come down almost 20%.
We're not buying it all back, though. We buy some here. By the way, can I just say that of the stocks that I look at right now, if I just joined us, I would buy some Amazon later in the afternoon. I think later in the afternoon, I don't see the market necessarily going to rally. And I like Amazon, and I spent a lot of time talking with the company last night, and I feel that it's being misunderstood. Amazon Web Services is doing very well. Yes, there is a retail component, obviously, but I think it's overdone. By looking at the forward guidance, you're making a big mistake because that forward guidance is done and very, very rarely.
It's hard to predict sales of a company of that size and profitability when there's just so many different variables. To your point about AWS, revenue growth did accelerate. Margins
that's
were 35%.
Why I don't want to sell this. I mean, I had a horrible fight with their CFO when Amazon Web Services looked like it was going to go below 10%
tonight. Yeah.
And he said, we're going to hold the line. And I said, well, give me a break. I happen to like the guy very much. He's a Steeler fan. I'm obviously an Eagle fan. And I feel very strongly that this company is in such great hands that you have to buy some stock here at 160. I would be a buyer,
and they continue to lower the cost to serve, which is important to profitability. Now, they did talk about there's trade down happening and maybe some
substitution.
Some sales of some products maybe not as strong as they would be in a robust economy.
But electronics, they said, was strong. So I challenged that. And it is some TVs, but it's PCs. Can you imagine? PCs are doing well, which is such a shame for Intel but very good for AMD.
Sure. AMD, I mean, that's another one we said if we weren't restricted today, we would be buyer. Stock is down now, even from when they reported some good results. They did raise the MI300 guide, PC sales. Talked a nice story there.
This is a very good buy right here, people, because when you go in the Intel conference call, what you will hear is a company that's really under tremendous stress. So if you're a Dell or an HP, you can pivot and just do all you want with Advanced Micro, and they'll make it for you. So and make Intel your second source, and I think that's going to happen.
One stock bucking the trend today, Apple. Good quarter from Apple today. Top and bottom line beat. Sales up 5%. Adjusted earnings beating per share by 5 cents. Beats on all product lines. Services growth up 14%. I mean, China was weak, but I think everyone.
Well, I mean, you know what? I would tell you, I spent a lot of time talking with Tim Cook last night, and in the afternoon, and he's very proud of the fact that they are now number one in the big cities in China. And he said, listen, if you back out currency, they basically were down 1% in China. Now that means that China, which we know is not buying much at all, is still buying iPhones. He's very proud of what's going on in the Philippines, in Indonesia, in India. Always mentions India now. I think that we're seeing a broadening out of who buys iPhones. And that's very good, because what happens is that you then get the service revenue stream. And the service revenue stream is so remarkably strong that Tim was, I'm not saying he was joyous. That's not the way he works. But he was very confident. And I do care about his confidence, because he's always been straight with me. Delightful guy. I mean, really great. And he did say that, don't worry, the Vision Pro's got a lot of adherence.
Yep. So this week we saw all the earnings from the mega caps, and every single one indicated that they do plan on spending more in Capex,
which is
whether in the second half of the year or next year versus the previous year. NVIDIA, right? But we are seeing weakness across that trade, and even in the power generation trade. Did have Eaton earnings yesterday, and that brings me to Nextracker today after.
Oh yeah, we should talk. Look,
yeah.
I think that you're getting a chance to buy some of these stocks. I would not be aggressive, because they're high. Nextracker's high growth, and what happened with Nextracker, just so people know, is they have contracts, and the contracts all didn't work out at the same time.
Yep.
Would you buy Nextracker if you just came into what we do?
You could nibble right. Small. I think also it's important to remember that they also are a big beneficiary of lower interest rates.
Right.
That will help the for renewable projects. Most of the cost of the life of a project is right up front. But there were some concerns around the backlog, project delays, but it sounded like it's all due to the permitting process, hooking up solar fields to the grid.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing like existential.
Look, obviously you want them to blow out the quarter. They did blow out.
It was a great quarter. No, it was a great quarter. It was a great quarter.
One of the best. Now, can we just go back for a second to Meta?
Sure.
Because I think that Meta is the true tell here. And what I want to say is that you had Pinterest not doing that well. Okay, you had YouTube not doing that well, although Alphabet continues to be okay now after that quarter. And you had Snap doing poorly. That is advertising going to these guys.
Yeah.
So this is a good opportunity.
They had another one with a great quarter.
They had
good
the best
guidance.
quarter. At one point, it was at 520.
Their AI spending is generating a return. It's leading to user engagement, monetization efficiency.
Now, what do you make of Eaton down very badly?
Well, it's that whole trade. It's that whole. I mean, you could look at Eaton. You can look at Vertiv. It's that whole group. But Eaton did report a beat-in raise. It was a good quarter.
I'm fine with buying Eaton here.
Yeah,
I'd actually buy some Eaton today. I don't know if we're restricted or not. That's an interesting level, because I think that Eaton is one of the great stories for the future. I've been looking at a bunch of stocks. Now, I mean, there's things that are going down really quickly, like a Micron's going down, a Lam Research is going down. But they are companies that are not doing as well as NVIDIA. So I just think you got to go with the winners. And NVIDIA remains a very big winner.
And before we get to the other earnings of the last 24 hours, I do want to take a step back. Mention a lot of stocks to buy. Now, this is, of course, if you have cash, don't have to do everything maybe all at once, gradual.
Right.
Yeah, just put it out a little bit of a strategy.
Well, okay, but I would buy, if I just came in, let's say I wanted to buy 500 shares of Amazon. That's a lot of money.
Sure.
I would buy 100 right here, right now. And then I see what happens at 245. That's the witching hour where we start getting things down. But I would buy 100
just
right here.
Stages is what I'm trying to get
because it's a wild acting trade. Maybe it goes down 25, you buy another 100. Then it goes down 28, you buy another 100. This is very good.
All right, let's turn to Linde next. Better than expected earnings above the high end of guidance. They do raise the midpoint of the full year guide, narrow the range.
Yeah, that was just a very solid quarter. I suspect it will go back to here.
It's a very defensive name within the group. So when you see other stocks in the material sectors fall, it could be selling of that to buy a stock like Linde. One thing I do want to point out from the conference call is, yes, their Q3 adjusted EPS range was a little bit light versus the midpoint, but management typically guides conservative.
Right, I think a good company.
I want to point out one key thing that they said is that volumes in the current quarter, so Q3, they're actually up so far 3% sequentially, and yet guidance factors in zero economic recovery. That's typically how Linde guides. So as long as there isn't this, a major deterioration happening, it could be a very conservative guide and some upside there based off of the 3% growth sequentially.
Yeah, I really like the stock. I think it goes to highs here. Now, I am off tonight, so I don't mind. We're going over a little bit from our usual broadcast because I'm not on Mad Money tonight. I'm going right to the beach. I was not supposed to work today.
Maybe we skip the rapid fire.
Can we do rapid fire?
I want to get to Coterra right before because it's just one more. It was a very big night. Free cash flow better than expected. Now, what matters here is they raised their oil production guide, but maintained capital expenditure. That's good efficiency. But, with the market worried about economic growth, it's just not a good day for energy stocks.
No, and obviously if there's a peace deal at all in the Middle East, you can get the stock at 23.5. But I happen to like the stock very much. The company's a huge buyer at this level.
It's our only energy position, kind of holding one just as a hedge.
I know, isn't it funny? Because I was like, after us to do
risk.
energy, and you have Chevron. I talked to Mike Wirth today. You have Chevron at 4% yield. Yield obviously matters.
Maybe the yield will come back to matter. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
Chevron gave back $50 billion in dividends, and the trade of Exxon out of Exxon, which is being driven by the Pioneer acquisition, into Chevron, which is convoluted because of the Hess situation. But I like this stock very much right at this level, 4.3% yield. That's
all right.
Very good.
Yep. And let's go to the rapid fire now. Why don't we start with Intel? Really tough day here.
Intel, I don't like it at all. I think that they're in disarray. They act as if they're not. There seems like a bit almost a rebellion against Gelsinger because they were asking Zinsner, the CFO, all the questions. That's very tough.
Lulu gets a downgrade to neutral at Goldman Sachs.
It's funny. I would have normally wanted to buy Lulu, but they're talking about a lack of innovation and a pipeline that's not that good. That does.
DoorDash higher after earnings.
Okay, so DoorDash flies in the face of everyone thinking that the consumer is weak. A very strong quarter. Obviously, you add your bill and they deliver. Tony Hsu's remarkable. This is a very good stock.
And then Snap falling after earnings.
Okay, Snap has to be avoided because they're losing branded. Now, the advertising in branded is going right to Meta.
Yep.
So, I mean, if this is being driven down when Meta's being driven, forget it. Just go buy Meta. Now, let me just review. Amazon right here to start a position. Meta right here now, okay?
Yep.
Apple is going, I think, much higher. It's very, very good. I don't want to touch Alphabet, all right? NVIDIA, we talked about at $100. That's down huge from 140, and I think it's going to be doing very well. This is holding right here. I do want to be a buyer of some. So it's not the end of the world. It's just that the money's going to McDonald's and Abbott and Merck, and those are fine. I mean, that's why we own a diversified portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you have to stick with these and the diversified names, because it's just like why we bought also some stocks that do benefit from rate cuts. And
Exactly.
they had their time, and they'll have their time again. And I think the tech stocks will have their time at some point too.
I agree. Anyway, this is Jim Cramer and Jeff Marks. Have a good weekend. We'll be back at it Monday for we'll have the morning meeting, the usual. But I am not on again.
A slower week of earnings.
I do want to tell people I'm not. I want to. You won't see me tonight. I'm going right to the beach. And have a good weekend, all CNBC Investing Club people.